When sailors spot something unusual on the horizon, curiosity compels them to steer closer. But by the time they understand the true nature of what they've encountered, it's already too late to retreat. Before we start to smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The day aboard the Horizon Chaser began like any other, but Jonah Rai, the youngest and sharpest-eyed crew member, couldn't shake a sense of unease gnawing at him. His gut told him something was wrong. Scanning the horizon, Jonah noticed a flicker, a shadow that seemed out of place. Initially dismissing it as a play of light or a cloud's reflection, he soon realized something was genuinely there. The shadow broke the smooth horizon unnaturally. His call to Captain Wyatt disrupted the usual rhythm of the crew. A seasoned sailor with decades of experience, Wyatt squinted toward the disturbance. When he too spotted the strange shadow, he wasted no time summoning First Mate Lucas Hawthorne. "It looks like land," Lucas suggested hesitantly, but everyone knew no islands or shoals existed in this part of the ocean. The shadow defied explanation. Intrigued and wary, Captain Wyatt ordered the ship to change course and head toward the anomaly. As the Horizon Chaser drew closer, Jonah's unease deepened. What initially appeared to be land revealed itself to be a floating mass of pumice stones. Gray, porous, and bobbing on the water's surface. The field stretched as far as the eye could see, creating a surreal and unsettling expanse. Sarah Collins, the ship's navigator, identified the formation as pumice, volcanic rock formed when molten lava cools rapidly in water. But this vast expanse of stones seemed unnatural, especially in these calm, volcanically inactive waters. "This must be recent," Sarah reasoned, "likely from an underwater eruption." The crew murmured uneasily as the ship ventured deeper into the pumice field. The stones clattered softly against the hull, a sound that carried an eerie, almost alive quality. Beneath the stones, the water appeared darker, clouded with ash and sediment, creating a strange and otherworldly seascape. Jonah's gut told him they were entering a place not meant for human intrusion. "Captain, there's a clear path through the pumice," Lucas shouted, pointing toward a narrow stretch of open water that seemed to slice perfectly through the field. It looked deliberate, almost as if someone or something had carved it out. Wyatt's curiosity overrode caution. "Follow it," he ordered. The Horizon Chaser glided into the path, but with every passing moment, the crew grew more uneasy. The once steady wind had vanished, leaving an unnatural stillness. The sound of pumice clattering against the hull faded, replaced by a low, rhythmic hum. The vibration seemed to emanate from the ocean itself, faint at first but growing louder as they pressed forward. "What's that sound?" Jonah whispered, his voice tinged with dread. The crew exchanged nervous glances, the hum unsettling them all. Wyatt, normally unflappable, stood tense at the helm, his instincts warning him that something was very wrong. Then, without warning, the clear blue sky darkened. It wasn't a storm. There were no clouds, no rain, no wind. The light itself seemed to drain away, leaving an eerie grayness that chilled the crew to the bone. "We shouldn't be here," Sarah muttered, trembling. As the ship continued along the path, the water beneath them began to churn. At first it was subtle, a ripple disturbing the otherwise calm surface. But the waves quickly grew more violent. The ship rocked precariously, forcing the crew to brace themselves. "Something's happening ahead!" Lucas shouted, pointing toward the horizon. A massive plume of steam and ash erupted from the water with a deafening roar. The sea boiled and hissed as molten lava surged upward, cooling instantly to form solid rock. Before their eyes, a new island began to rise from the ocean's depths, its jagged edges glowing red-hot with molten lava. "It's a volcanic eruption," Sarah exclaimed, her voice a mix of awe and fear. The crew stood frozen, watching the birth of a new landmass. But even as the island grew, Jonah couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary geological event. The hum had deepened, resonating through the air, the ship, and their very bones. It felt alive, ancient and powerful, as though something had been awakened from the depths. The island's rapid emergence unleashed chaos around the Horizon Chaser. Waves crashed violently against the ship, sending sprays of scalding water into the air. The heat radiating from the eruption was oppressive, and the air thickened with sulfur and ash, choking the crew as they struggled to keep control of the vessel. Pumice stones, some as large as boulders, were hurled skyward by the eruption, crashing dangerously close to the ship. "We have to get out of here, Lucas yelled, his voice barely audible over the deafening roar of the eruption. Captain Wyatt wrestled with the helm, trying to steer them away, but the currents were relentless. The ocean, disrupted by the island's creation, became a swirling cauldron that pulled the ship inexorably closer to the volcanic epicenter. Just as Wyatt opened his mouth to give the order to abandon ship, a violent tremor rocked the newly formed island. The ground beneath the water convulsed, sending colossal waves in every direction. The ship groaned under the strain, its wooden frame creaking ominously as it was tossed about like a toy. "We can't fight the current," Lucas shouted, panic clear in his voice. Jonah gripped the railing tightly, his knuckles white as the horizon chaser was dragged closer to the growing island. What had initially seemed like a simple geological event now felt unnatural, alive and angry. "Abandon ship! Everyone into the lifeboats now!" Wyatt's voice cut through the chaos. The crew scrambled to lower the lifeboats, pumice and ash raining down around them. The heat was suffocating, the air barely breathable, and the sound of the island's deep, resonant hum vibrated through their very souls. Jonah's hands shook as he tied the ropes, his heart pounding with the realization that they had disturbed something far beyond their understanding. As the lifeboats hit the water, the crew paddled frantically, desperate to escape. But the ocean seemed to have other plans. The currents dragged them closer to the island, no matter how hard they rowed. The hum grew louder, reverberating through the water, through their bodies and through their very minds, as if the island itself was alive and aware of their presence. Then with an earth-shattering roar, the island began to collapse. The newly formed island, unstable and volatile, started to crumble under its own weight. Its jagged peaks buckled, and the molten lava trapped within erupted violently, sending fiery projectiles into the air. Massive chunks of rock broke apart and plunged into the ocean, causing the water to boil and release enormous plumes of steam and ash. "Row! Row as hard as you can!" Wyatt commanded, his voice hoarse. The lifeboats were tossed by massive waves generated by the island's collapse. The water churned violently, filled with floating debris, pumice stones, chunks of solidified lava, and ash, all swirling in the treacherous currents. The crew fought desperately against the chaos, rowing with every ounce of strength they had. Jonah's grip on the side of the lifeboat tightened as waves slammed into them, nearly capsizing the small vessel. The heat was overwhelming, and the thick ash-filled air made it hard to breathe. He could feel the island's presence, an oppressive, pulsing energy that seemed to fill the atmosphere. It wasn't just a collapsing landmass. It felt like they were witnessing the death throes of something alive. "The island is sinking," Lucas shouted, pointing toward the crumbling landmass. The volcanic island, which had risen so quickly from the ocean's depths, was now being reclaimed by the sea just as swiftly. Lava spewed from its collapsing core, illuminating the darkened sky with fiery streaks. The peaks shattered, and the once solid rock fractured into fragments that crashed into the boiling water below. "We're too close," Jonah yelled, his voice barely carrying over the roaring eruption. The lifeboats were caught in the violent currents caused by the island's destruction. Enormous waves surged toward them, slamming into the small vessels and drenching the crew with scalding spray. Jonah clung to the boat's edge, his heart pounding as he struggled to stay aboard. The crew rowed frantically, their muscles burning with the effort, but the collapsing island's force was inescapable. The water churned with volcanic debris, and the air seemed alive with the island's dying vibrations. Jonah glanced back at the sinking landmass, its glowing edges vanishing beneath the waves, and realized they were witnessing the end of something ancient and powerful. With a final deafening roar, the island disappeared beneath the waves. The ocean, as if reclaiming its territory, swallowed the fiery landmass, leaving behind a boiling sea and a thick cloud of ash that blotted out the sky. The once violent eruption faded into an eerie silence, broken only by the sound of the crew's labored breaths and the rhythmic splash of oars cutting through the water. "It's gone," Lucas murmured, his voice trembling. The crew stared in stunned silence at the spot where the island had been. Jonah, his heart heavy, struggled to process what he had just witnessed. The island had risen from the depths with unimaginable power, only to vanish as quickly as it appeared, leaving no trace of its existence. The ocean calmed as if nothing had happened, but Jonah knew better. He had felt it, the hum, the vibrations, the oppressive energy. It was as if the island had been alive, and they had disturbed something ancient and untouchable. The memory of that strange, otherworldly hum lingered in his mind, a haunting reminder of the forces they had encountered. In the days that followed, a passing ship rescued the exhausted crew of the Horizon Chaser. They recounted their unbelievable story to authorities, but few believed them. The idea of a volcanic island rising and disappearing within hours sounded like the stuff of legends. However, scientists later confirmed an underwater volcanic eruption in the area, similar to the Home Reef eruption near Tonga, which had briefly created a visible island before it was reclaimed by the sea. Yet no explanation could account for the strange phenomena the crew had experienced: the hum, the vibrations, and the sense of something alive and powerful. Jonah returned to his life forever changed. The ocean, once a familiar and predictable force, had revealed its true nature, a place of endless mystery and awe-inspiring power. Though the island was gone, Jonah knew the memory of that fateful encounter would never fade. The sea had given them a glimpse of its hidden depths and reminded them that there are forces in this world far greater than humanity can comprehend.